All right, people. So we're here with a second ride with Lea Sakran, who is the author of Gusta and Gusto and was calling in from Germany.
It's a beautiful conversation. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun, a lot of storytelling.
Yeah, I think that was primary. And I really loved at the end how I think all three of us came into this very warm place when she talked about not losing our inner child, staying connected with that.
Yeah. So definitely support Blast, support the Compton Cowboys, and check out Gusta and Gusto at a bookstore near you. But first, enjoy the ride.
Sis, hallo?
Blijven.
Stuur zeker wegen dem.
Wil je iets niet, joh?
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Marc.
And we're live with another ride. And this is a second ride with our special guest writer, Lea Sakran, who is a very accomplished voiceover person and has done voiceover for audiobooks. And I think you have some acting experience as well. Yes, Lea?
Yes, of course.
And is here as the author of Gusta and Gusto, Horns and Hearts in Rhino Country, which is about relationships, growth, and understanding, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the second in the Gusta and Gusto series, correct?
No, it's the first. But first there was the audiobook. And now there is the book.
Nice.
With all these lovely illustrations, for example.
Very, very nice.
From Jason from Winkler.
Well, let me ask you this. What did you learn about yourself in the process of seeing this accomplishment through?
I learned that as soon that there is a problem, for example, learning about distribution or about the website, always when there were issues, technical issues, or like information I did not have yet, I really learned together also with my illustrator. We both kept going. He always said it's a bumpy road, but we're going to get there. Not to give up, but to push through those technical barriers, and also to completely change the perspective, like not to stay fixed in your position, trying to resolve the problem, but trying to take another stand and to look at things from a different perspective and from a different side. Like if you have the colors blue, red, and pink, if you always come from the pink side, you will always see blue and red. But if you come from the red side, you see blue and pink, how they interact in a different way than blue and red would interact. Do you understand what I mean?
I do. That's a great way to describe it. You know, like if we don't change our perspective, then we're actually losing perspective. You're not getting the whole picture. Yeah, I like that.
And this is something I really learned, because if I wouldn't have learned it, I wouldn't have been able to continue the whole process. I was like obliged to change my mindset, because it's, you know, like in directing, you just need to continue until it's staged. You can't stop in the middle.
Right. Yeah. And it's so interesting because especially with a children's book, I look at it and it has such a benign energy for me. I feel like the world is all wonderful. And to hear like that actually behind the scene is challenge and that journey of, like you said, things come up and you just keep stepping forward.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's one of the secrets of accomplishing things, that there are people, they don't succeed, they don't succeed the first time, they don't succeed the second time. And maybe, I work a little bit in counseling. Maybe I can just say something from that, where I also work with youngsters. And then sometimes someone says, oh, I can't do that. And I say, yeah, you can't do that. So would you like to try again? I said, no, I just can't. I said, oh, okay. Well, there are people who can't, and then they just give up. But there are people who try again, and then again, they don't succeed. And why don't you try it again? And then they keep trying, actually. And every time they don't succeed, I kind of comfort them with them. Yeah, you didn't succeed. You want to give up or you want to try again?
Yeah.
And then you kind of keep going. And you actually need to learn, I would say, also this feeling of giving up and getting back into the game and trying it again. But I just really wanted, this is just a short passage from counseling, but this is what I really had to be persistent. I mean, sometimes I was for days with a problem, and just not to give up, and also not looking at the time, because if you look at the time, you really get frustrated. But if you say, okay, well, we're not there yet. I don't know how long this journey is going to take, but I'm just going to, enjoy the ride and keep going.
So I'm curious about the way that your process worked. Like, are you sitting at a word processor, or are you using a kind of audio capture narrative so you can tell the story verbally and then transcribe it? Well, how do you work on when you're working on a book like this?
Oh, okay. No, you mean how this, from the audio that it became a book? Is that the question?
Well, yeah, how?
Well, when I registered, when I recorded the audiobook, the text of the book was already here, but in a form for an audiobook, where it's more, how you narrate it. So the whole script existed already. But for the book, I just kind of looked again at, at the whole script, and I maybe changed some words where I thought it might flow better also if you read it. But I actually just polished then the whole story, that it also became a book. And then the illustrations were added, and we have little icons everywhere, like this, for example, which was an additional idea to have. Right?
You're working with young children in your counseling career, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Is this a book that they could read themselves?
It's a book maybe around 6, 7. You could read it on your own, but it is it's great to read aloud, and it is actually not only for children. It is also, it's like
I
from
thought so. When
6
Greg made
or
that, I'm
onwards
like,
6.
does that mean I can't read it?
No, you can. It's for everyone, and there's this wisdom. But the philosophy about it, you can always say, "Oh, it's just about rhinos," but they're very humanized. So problems human beings have, also the rhinos have, and how you approach problems, and also the humor, or how you can look at things. Talking about perspectives again, this is also this is also part of the stories, obviously. So it is not just for kids. It's a family book. It's for all generations.
Are you open to possibly reading some of that for us so we can get a little flavor of that?
Yes, of course. Of course. So there is this one story here. They're on a flying carpet. Can you see it?
Something in the magic lamp. Lift it up
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gusta and the Magic Lamp. And there it's actually about heritage and what we take from the past into our own lives. What we can let go and what we can transform. So it is not just for kids that they, arrange their room. It is within a bigger context of our lives. Okay. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, Gusta and the Magic Lamp. Me gusta a bailar, me gusta a bailar. She always says she loves to dance in Spanish. Gusta, the rhino lady, wanted to dance, jump, sing the most beautiful songs, surrounded by glittering stardust, and admire the world by traveling with gratefulness on a flying carpet, sprinkling joy and comfort from above. This was Gusta's secret wish, hidden for a long time in her heart. Whoa, this would be a great thing, such a flying carpet. Years ago, when Gusta's grandfather was still alive, she remembered, he used to tell stories about the flying carpet. Gusta often thought of these carpet stories and, of course, of her grandfather. How her grandfather told the stories was just wonderful. Whenever the evening sky turned warm pink, orange, purple, her grandfather sat under his lemon tree, and Gusta was always allowed to sit next to her grandfather, whom she admired very much. Then Gusta's grandfather began to tell the stories about the flying carpet, and Gusta's grandmother always brought warm mint tea. All the rhinos and friends and neighbors of friends sat in a big circle around Gusterro, Gusta's grandfather, and listened to his stories. Meanwhile, Gustita, Gusta's grandmother, always ensured that everyone had enough tea.
Beautiful. This introduces the whole lineage there, like
Yeah.
Gusterio and Gusta, and wow, yeah, that's brilliant.
Thank you.
It also reinforces this kind of really core, like beyond even what we think of as organized civilization. Storytelling is one of the most powerful moments in human communication and connection, right? So we get to tell each other stories long before there's any media or there's any, even the Catholic Church or, any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that connects us right away to this idea that these characters also have that in their lives. And what it reminded me was something my dad said, and I'll put a little context on it. He said that, we talk often about all the human challenges that we're all facing in the context of living in 2026. And he says, yeah, there's all of that. And one of the most powerful things we can give each other is just tea and company.
It is. It is.
Mint tea.
Mint tea.
Okay.
Mint tea or chamomile?
Mint. Did that scenario come from your own youth? Did you have experiences of a grandmother who was making tea for the community and hanging out with your grandfather?
That's beautiful that you're saying this. It actually does. Yeah. Because my grandfather, he was also a storyteller. And so it came from this idea, which I remembered as a child, that everyone sat around my grandfather. We had on the house, there was like a flat roof. And then all the neighbors came and they all sat together and he started to tell his stories. And it was something very, and the evening sky, pink and orange. And it was something very, very poetic, romantic, and also very spiritual and religious in a positive sense, you could also say, where there was just this calmness and this respect and honoring to hear the stories. And then later on someone would maybe play some music. So what you just said, Mark, it was really about the connection and spending time together, which had the greatest value.
We forget how much medicine there is in putting down our devices and falling into the boredom hole a little bit, enough that we reach out to each other. Like, what could you tell me? What could I tell you? Like, let's bridge this moment of boredom, of spaciousness, really, in a way that actually harkens back to our earliest elements of socialization.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love that you're sharing these characters with us on the show. And I know that we've talked about chamomile and we've talked about mint, but I'm wondering, what does Gusta serve Gusto?
What Gusta serves Gusto as a tea?
Yeah. Yes, tea. Yeah.
Well, there is chamomile and mint. I got you there.
No, I wasn't asking you to pick a side. I was really just going like,
yeah. No,
because hippos spend so much time underwater. I bet there's like a special like African lake seaweed tea that might be really remind them of
The
home.
rhinos.
There
rhinos.
is
Right,
actually
that also drink tea.
Yeah, there is actually a passage in another story.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wait, what is it? Gusta and the wonderful herbal soup.
Gusta and the herbal soup. So we are really right.
This is it. We're being led.
We're in the
We
kitchen
are
now.
being led. So I'm just gonna read a passage from there, that because she always serves him in the morning like matcha with coconut crumbles and some mud water, obviously, because he's a rhino. So let me just, So she already did her morning yoga and practiced her horn stand. She does this every morning. Obviously, she's a rhino. And then Gusta placed before Gusta's horn a deep green matcha latte with beautiful coconut milk foam decorated with a sage leaf and some cocoa crumbles. Gusto loved that. Slowly becoming more alert, he asked Gusta what had happened to her voice and why it sounded so scratchy. Oh, nothing, Gusta replied. I just have a bit of a sore throat. Gusta drank his delicious matcha, removed his horn sleeping cap, and after cleaning up the breakfast table with Gusta, said, I'm just going for 2 or 3 mud bath swimming lengths, and then I have something very special planned for us today. And she said, oh, Gusta always has such good ideas. And then they are going to take a trip into the forest to collect herbs for her sore throat. So it's about mint, it's about chamomile, it's about cocoa milk foam and cocoa crumbles. So we have because actually Gusto, he wanted to study medicine, but rhinos were not permitted to university. Obviously there are always these criteria to get into universities, and it doesn't help if you're a rhino. I mean, already people sometimes have problems. So
Being a rhino would certainly be an interesting conundrum for med school.
but he has this natural intuition for medicine, and so he just keeps going, also with no med school.
I just hope he doesn't go into Chinese apothecaries and find a horrific element that he would see on the shelf, ground rhino horn.
Yeah. I was just thinking, why are rhinos always interested in sex ed? Because they're horny, yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So it's such vivid imagery. I'm sorry, did I step on you, Greg? Were you going to ask a question?
No.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, do you remember, Lea, being read to or having your own grandparents tell you stories?
My dad. Yeah, I remember my dad, and he always told these stories about like yeah. We haven't talked about this because it seems so familiar somehow. Or have we already? I'm not sure.
If we have, it's time to talk about it again.
Again, I know. Well, he always talked about the fox and the rabbit who became friends. And then he always told the same story. And I always was curious if they're still friends. So I said, can you tell me the story again, please, about the fox and the rabbit? Because I wasn't sure if on the next day they still were friends, or, it's dangerous, fox and rabbit.
Yeah.
You might get eaten up. But so he was very kind, because the rabbit was always alive. And he always reassured me that they're going to become friends.
They're going to be okay.
What culture was your father from? What heritage?
Well, we're quite a big mix from the Mediterranean. We also have roots in Greece and also in the Middle East. Yeah. And I think also nowadays, I mean, we're kind of in a very special, living in very special times, and I do believe storytelling and being connected as human beings.
Are you familiar with the Brer Rabbit stories that I know from the United States?
Tell me about it. No.
Oh my gosh. So what I love about them is they're animal stories, and I have this thick collection of them. The professor who brought them all together and got them published, two things I love. One, he says in the introduction, these are stories, and whoever's telling it should adapt and change them as they want. They're meant to be
interpreted.
Right. And I
like a good jazz song.
That there's like Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, Brer Bear. And in one story, Brer Fox is burned up in this log that he's trapped in by Brer Rabbit. And then the next story happens, and Brer Fox is walking down the street, and the narrator says, "Oh, you thought Brer Fox was dead? No, that was that story. This is a different story."
Oh, that's nice.
And I love that.
That's so nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like you can drop an anvil on a cartoon character, and they get up again.
Yeah. That's another segment. But I'm wondering, so in the realm of counseling, psychology is my understanding. I am not a counselor, but my understanding,
that's good.
is psychology is a part of that academia realm. That one, you're delving into the psychology of an individual, what is the source of thought and how that thought is creating action in their life, et cetera, et cetera. And is that real? Is that a real part of counseling in your experience?
It's like not in my nature to tell people what is right and wrong. And I think, the main thing is, really working as an author and as an audiobook narrator. But what I see in all fields, it's always about being heard and seen.
So,
That's like the general theme, I believe.
so is that the theme in Gusta and Gusto?
Yeah, also. And just to be there. And I think there we have a bridge also, between counseling, between being an author, between narrating, just to really be present in the moment, to be present for the story, with every word, with every feeling, just to be there, or just to be as we are now together, that we really just to be there. And this gives such the presence of the now, I guess. This gives such a strength and a joy. And if this happens, you feel heard and seen, and everyone calms down. This always happens.
Yeah. And there's so much practice of the opposite.
Mhm.
There's so much distracting us and pulling us away, and so the that depth of communion that you're talking about, which is so healing, we're starting to forget. Little pockets of our cultures are starting to forget how much of an essential nutrient that is for all of us. We think it's coming from these things. Then I'm holding up my phone. It's always been from our heart to hearts, right? Heart to
Yeah.
heart conversations.
Yes.
And it's really one of the things I love about Gusta and Gusto is the way that they're unique to themselves, but they are so complementary to each other. Like, she makes him this beautiful matcha tea, and he's already off and running, thinking about her sore throat and how he wants to get her some, well-being. But first, he's got several mud baths that are part of his self-care. It's like,
Yeah.
in order for me to be fully resourced enough to take you somewhere and really drive that part of our relationship, I have a couple of mud baths that are essential operating procedure for me. And I love that about I don't even think you put that much thought into it. You're not like psychologically designing these characters. They just come to you, right?
Yeah, they just come to me, but they, after they come, and then I'm aware of actually what they give. I mean, they say, for example, a sentence like, "Oh, just jump into the mud bath and enjoy," which is actually, if you think about it, it's just about, just try to let go or be at ease, or these words, they're like giving ideas of a certain attitude in life.
Yeah.
Or she says, and she just says this quickly like that, without any meaning. She says, you know just imagine what you can create what you want to imagine, which is such a huge uh theme behind it, but she just says it once like that. And for example, also the story of when they go to the forest, I really love that story also, because Gusto, absurdly, he is persuaded that if you have a throatache, you need to carry a basket, because that will help your sore throat. So the basket is empty, and he carries it, and they go to the forest. And because she has a sore throat, they're filling these baskets, those 2 baskets, he takes 2 baskets with herbs. And then he says, well, now you need to carry both baskets because you have a sore throat. And with the herbs in the basket, this will help your sore throat. And he's really persuaded that that's the way it is. But obviously, she comes from a completely different strand and
Perspective. Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
saying, well, you carried them while they were empty. Why should I carry them when they are full? And then it really starts to, and then he doesn't want to get in a conflict with her. And, he's also self-critical. And he says, oh, okay, well, yeah, maybe it is right that our baskets need to be empty. And it doesn't have nothing to do with baskets throw date, but he
Right.
gets so fixed on this idea. When they get home in the evening, she actually realizes, because then in the end they connect a rope, and on each horn everyone is carrying a basket, and they're connected by the rope, by carrying
Wow.
2 baskets. And so they understand, oh, it was never about the baskets being full or empty. It was about being connected, and
Mm.
it's about friendship.
And that's just one chapter, folks. Like,
Yeah.
imagine the whole book is just chock full of these amazing folk tales that help us, push past our own horns to
Yes.
discovering what's beyond the way we might go look at our horn.
Yeah.
Right?
What's beyond your horn?
Yeah.
What's beyond your horn? I like
Yes. And for men, what's beyond your horniness? Like, there's a whole world out there.
nothing.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yes, he can't help us now.
Mm.
We're in it now.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
risk if you write about rhinos.
yeah, that's right. It just becomes one horny pun after another,
Oh God.
especially on a ride with us. Like, anyway, we can move beyond our own horniness in this show. Even I'm going to demonstrate right now. Do you worry about reinforcing any masculine and feminine tropes in the way that you portray these characters?
It's not actually about, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, Gusta, she's like more the extrovert,
Mm.
and she is shining and everything, and he is more the introvert.
Hmm.
And he is also a little slow, maybe sometimes a little boring, but he admires her. And she needs this admiration also. She would never say so. She's always, oh, pff. But if he doesn't look, then she's kind of, trying to, what are you doing? Trying to get his attention. So the combination actually of the relationship they have, it can be man, woman, but it can also be between friends. And it's not clear if they're a couple, They are really Gusta and Gusto. They just live in this realm of togetherness, I would say, which is beautiful because it doesn't need to be defined, because the friendship is so strong.
Right.
That's a nice. If the friendship is strong, maybe you don't need to define it.
Yeah. In fact, just finding it begins to limit it. It begins to create a box around it,
Yeah.
right? That may
Yeah.
never need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I'm invested now. What are the adventures of Gusta and Gusto going to bring us? Are there kids? Are they going to separate? Do they get separated at some point and have an adventure of how they find themselves back to each other? And what happened to their parents? Like, what do we, there's all these questions. And do you feel like there's more stories to tell?
I mean, I started telling you about the carpet, the magic lamp.
Right.
And they are actually in the workshop of Gusto. And in the workshop, there's a huge mess in the workshop of Gusto. But then they understand that it's not just about his things there. Already the grandparents, the generation before, also stored their things in there. And then Gusta is getting very kind of irritated because there's a huge mess, and Gusto is coming out full of colors because all the paint is all over him when he tried, finding something. And then they actually start cleaning up the workshop. And they discover also things of, maybe I can read this passage. It is really
Okay.
beautiful.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Gusta's grandfather explained you always felt safe on the carpet. For example, when it was cold flying over Greenland, the carpet magically warmed its passengers. And when flying over a hot country, like a desert, you felt this gentle, cooling, softly enveloping breeze, as if a pink cloud was embracing you. One should have such a carpet, Gusta often thought when she rested on her old perforated carpet after her mud fun bath. She let herself dry by the sun and looked into the blue sky, watching the 2 or 3 little clouds that sometimes passed by. And then suddenly, today of all days, there was a vast noise. Ta-ta-ta-clear, ta-ta-ta-clang, and clear-clang-clang. Oh no! Gusta woke up from her daydreaming and immediately sat up like a jagged rock and looked around sharply. Oh dear, she could guess who that was. Gusto, are you okay? Gusto stepped out of his workshop. He was colored green, yellow, light blue, white, and pink because when he was looking for something on the top shelf, all the paint pots above him fell out. A soup pot was hanging on his horn, and something was hanging behind his ear too. What is this? Gusta rushed to Gusto and removed an old bicycle chain dangling behind his ear. I was just looking for something, Gusto explained, slightly irritated. Gusto, it just doesn't work like that. Look at all your workshop, the chaos. It's getting bigger and bigger, and now this bicycle chain dangling behind your ear? I'm glad we gave away the motorcycle. Your workshop is not a highway, Gusto. It just doesn't work like that. I'm very, very worried, Gusto. Worried? Asked Gusto. About me? Smiled Gusto at Gusto. No, because of the workshop. Or no, because of you, or both. Or no, because of me, especially me. I can't stand this mess. Gusto, you're getting me all confused. And anyway, that's not the question here. The chaos has to go. Gusto didn't know whether he should smile or cry and did both. Smiling slightly tense at Gusto, a thick teardrop dropped from his left eye loudly onto the ground. And then they started cleaning up everything. And he said, obviously, it wasn't just his things. And they start to discover things in the workshop. I'll continue. The whole potting shed was cleared out, but it seemed as if the mess kept growing back. It was so much, as there had been generations of stuff accumulated. There were even old film reels that were used a long time ago to play movies. For example, there were Charlie Chaplin films, one with a greeting written directly onto the film reels with white chalk. For my dear friend Gustero and his wife Gusteta, with warm greetings, your Chaplin. Or a beautiful packed porcelain dish and silver cutlery, along with a golden greeting card. Love from England for you, your happy life. And when you're in Windsor or London, my home is my castle. My castle is your castle. You are most welcome anytime. Your Beth. So all these people were there, and shall I read another one who was also in there?
Oh, sure.
Contact? Yeah.
Why not?
So next, Gustav found, wrapped in a fancy box was a beautiful watch fob with a little note. Dear Gusteta, never will I forget the time when we drank your excellent mint tea together under the lemon tree. And you advised me so wisely. Who's that?
Time Einstein.
That's a great idea. Here it's Mahatma.
Gandhi.
And the last one Next, Gusta found a pink tutu hanging dusty in a closet. Gusta knew her grandmother had once danced ballet, and on the hanger in golden letters was written, "For Gusteta, from Nijinsky," so that she will always remember to dance through life with the grace of light pirouettes. Trust your steps as you pivot and turn situations so that they please you.
Is that the same one she wore when she was in Fantasia?
Yeah, So coming back
Nice.
generations before, it is actually all these people who also moved something. They were all in this little garden shed, which became the workshop of Gusto.
What a beautiful reminder of the sometimes untidy imaginations that we all have and what we can bring forth from them if we just do a little bit of banging around in there and maybe be willing to get a little paint on ourselves. We can concoct these amazing stories. It feels so good to just listen and fall into hearing the stories. And one of the things that I had to sort of push back from my mind as I was listening, which came up, but I'm like now going to ask as a question. You've done a really amazing job of not using this vehicle as a way to sort of remind everyone about the danger that rhinos face in the world and how they're potentially becoming extinct if we're not careful with how we work with their environment. There's no agenda behind these characters other than here's these wonderful beings that we can kind of explore the mysteries of life with and the curiosities of life. And it struck me that is how you've chosen to position this. Like a lot of people would use it as a way to like go, well, we've got to educate people about what rhinos are facing. And, was that a conscious choice or did it just never occur to you to sort of try to make a kind of statement about preservation or a political statement with these characters?
I started writing the stories after I heard, I think I told you already, maybe I haven't, of a father who used the format of a podcast to send his daughter goodnight stories while he was on business trip. And then I thought, I want to write stories too. And I actually thought I want to write about unicorns. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, these unicorns turned into rhinos. So it was not that like I need to write about rhinos and their danger they're facing. It actually came from the idea of writing about unicorns. Mm-hmm. So it was a very romantic way how the characters actually developed, because all of a sudden these unicorns became rhinos. And then in some parts of the story, even, Gusta, she's thinking about, well, maybe every rhino was once a unicorn. Mm-hmm. Or every unicorn has within itself the rhino power.
Ooh, I like that. And what would you say, how would you quantify or qualify the rhino power?
Well, they are the rhino power. I wrote about it on my website also about the qualities of the rhino.
Just the brief version. You don't have to quote it. What's just off the top of your head?
They're friendly. They're one of the biggest mammals of our times. They're very strong. I look at them as resilient also. Very earthy. I mean, there is the Rhino Day. I think it is on the 21st. I would need to look it up. And then there's the World Peace Day, I think on the 22nd of September. No, World Earth Day. And I think I hope I'm not saying anything wrong here. because we're live, but somehow, the Earth Day and the Rhino Day, they're very closely connected to each other. So we actually, there is a time to honor these mammals, and they're very ancient. They are, I don't know since when they are on this planet. But they
Agreed.
have something very archaic also, and very grounded. I think, and I encounter often in the time we're living now, what you said before with the telephone. I get the feeling somehow we live about 50 or 1 meter above the earth. Everything is kind of airy, and let's try and hold something. Let's try to find the grounds again. And I think these stories, they can really help us also to have this element of earth and the mud bath, and the feeling of life.
Yeah. It's so interesting to feel that, and for us to have coherence about that. And there's an element here of your creativity branches beyond the Gusta and Gusto stories and your work in voiceover work and acting in various things. And one of the things that you do is you support writers through writing workshops. Can you talk a little bit about how that works and what it is like to come and be in a writing workshop with you?
Well, I gave for many years, I gave writer workshops, and I've been asked to do it again. But what we did at the time, and I'm thinking of doing it again also, I just had some pause, but we're working, I can offer it in some time again. But it was always that we started with an element, no matter what. Start with a glass of water. Start with a mirror. Anything. Start with some pink lipstick, and then you build a story. That's an approach I really love, because you actually don't start in your head. You actually start with an object. And by connecting two objects, you have the glass of water and the telephone.
Which shouldn't mix.
You already have a story. I mean, you just spill the water over the telephone's gone, and the story starts.
Right. Or the other way, you take a beautiful picture of the water with the phone. Like, they can go any direction you want.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And so what's it like for you when you do those workshops? Do you enjoy it? And you say you're considering it again. What's the form it takes? Is it like a couple of hours, or is it a whole weekend? How does it work?
There are different options I could offer. It could be like, mostly when I did an evening, it was like 1.5 hours. But I think absolutely it's possible also, for a weekend, that one can offer this. I'm just focused at the moment, on the books, and also the second book, which will come out. But, I've been asked, and yeah, I'm absolutely open for it.
Okay. And do you see these characters becoming animated at any point?
Well, my illustrator actually has some ideas. Now it is a series of 4.
Okay.
And the second book will come out, not a series, but there are 4 books in the series. And we also are working on activity books where, kids maybe can identify with the characters, and then, counting with Gusta and Gusto, or learning to write letters, or, finding out some things you need to find out, or but obviously these characters would be great to be animated. So but we have to take it one step at a time, I think. First, you have the books now.
What I noticed about my experience of this with you is that I'm deeply in touch with my childlike wonder of the world, and as we talk about it, and I get to that place, and I realize what a vast playground it is, and I start wanting to make things like come to life, and so the idea of them dancing around, especially after I did the Fantasia joke. Like I can just see both these characters moving in my mind's eye right now already. They're kind of
Oh, wow.
right. So
Yeah.
yeah. And just as a sort of a left turn, a strange aside, it occurs to me that one of the problems you might have as a rhino is that you can't scratch your horn with your own hoofs. So you have to kind of find a way to scratch your horn. If it's growing, it might be itch a little bit, right? And so how do you do that? You know, how does that
How I
work?
do
Are
that?
you asking how do you scratch that itch? We're back to
Well,
horniness again.
I thought of that problem
Not
and I got the
intentionally.
solution. I got the solution in story. It's great.
Oh, this is amazing. I'm so excited that this question came to me. Gusta's birthday. Okay.
Yeah. So she is actually, you know, getting ready for her birthday, and all her friends are coming from Australia, the turtle and the bear from Greenland, and they come with a helicopter. And the bear, he brings like an ice cake from Greenland because there's so much ice there. And then they're actually starting the party, and Miss Flamingo Dream also with her French accent. And then they forgot about Gusto. They forgot about him. And she is realizing, oh my gosh, I forgot about Gusto. And then they started searching for him. And I said, Gusto, where are you? And they found him because they heard this scraping, this scratching sound. And usually in the evening, you know, like we brush our teeth, they scrape their horn on the big rock. But then also when he's nervous or he feels sad or he's anxious, he also keeps scraping his horn. Which, you know, a habit he should really stop. And right, because he hurts his horn.
Right.
Well, I was just thinking if we brushed our teeth when we were nervous or anxious, that could be a really healthy thing.
Well, we might wear out our enamel too. There's two sides to that coin.
That's true. Well, you're supposed to brush softly, right?
Right.
And she says, she tells him, stop always scraping your horn when you are sad. That does your horn no good. And it is so nice that we are friends. We are a beautiful friendship. And we have a beautiful friendship. And that is the most beautiful gift, because he scraped his horn because it's her birthday. And he was thinking all the time what he could give her. He didn't know. That's why he got so nervous, because she's such a special soul to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's then the whole, you know, horn scraping started.
Wow. See, instant gratification for me. Doesn't always work that way, folks.
You got
But
your
you never
horn.
know. If you're willing to be vulnerable and ask the question, anything can happen.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yes.
I'm thinking of Roland Dahl, and he spoke, I believe, that he spoke about the adult world and children world. And do you, as a children's storyteller, see aspects of childhood that us adults might have lost that we would benefit from bringing back into our lives?
I believe that we all still have this child within us. And I think it's important that we feel safe to allow still these questions we have within our soul, this pureness, this innocence, this authenticity, because often everything is so loud. And sometimes I I always see it a little bit, in the orchestra hall when they start tuning their instruments before the concert starts. And I always imagine, I'm always impressed how, the violinist, everyone is like tuning their instruments. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Because how can you hear your own instruments when everyone is tuning their instruments? So I do believe it is so important that we have an instrument, like a violin or a flute or a piano. It grounds us, and it gives us also a safe space to still have childish or desires like a child. I don't really think there is if you talk with a child, if you talk with a grown-up, you always talk with a human being. I don't think it matters if someone is a child or how old someone is. If you connect with someone, you connect with them anyhow, no matter which age.
Yeah,
Is this answering your question?
absolutely.
Okay.
And the pacing and thoughtfulness, that the way you explained it, there was a really beautiful grounding that occurred as you were taking your time to say each moment's thought with the proper cadence and depth that really felt good. And I was mimicking it back to you a little bit there, just to kind of put an exclamation point where maybe a period would have been better. But that's my problem.
I felt it, and it went right in.
Oh, that's
Thank
great.
you. Now we should hold hands. Let's put our hands
Okay,
up.
everybody grab someone next to
Hands
you.
up.
If not, grab your imaginary friend's hand.
Or your
If you
horn.
haven't seen them in a while, they'll be glad to see you. So
Yeah.
what a wonderful thing. And I'm so glad to hear that there's more coming,
Thank
that book
you.
2 is coming, and that you feel like a fountain of beauty is coming from your life. And I hope that it feels that way for you. I know we talked earlier in the discussion about learning to work around our frustrations and learning to get through whatever things come up. And so no one lives like that all the time. But I feel so grateful that all of the audience members and Greg and I get to have this moment with you where we can feel the infinite source of love that comes from your imagination. It's such a great gift.
That feels like a really nice place to land. So we have our traditional final question, Lea, and you've been asked it before,
Yes.
but it is tradition. And so, Marc?
Lea,
I know it. I think I
Gusta
remember.
or Gusto?
No.
That's not the question.
No, it was with the M&M.
Yeah,
It was with-
The question is Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Yeah. And my daughter told me Eminem is a musician.
So do you have a
Do you know what the Foo
answer?
Fighters are?
Should I know? I should.
Well, no, you don't. There's no should in the Moped Outlaws. That's the beauty of the
Can you
question.
tell me, please?
Okay, so Eminem is from Detroit.
Yeah.
He's a young man who began to create verses and kind of a poetic speaking style that became known as rap.
Oh.
And he came up as a person who's white in a community which is traditionally dominated by people of color. And he earned his stripes by performing at a level that was really, really high level, and then eventually went on to some great, great success. He continues to this day, although he's not very active. The Foo Fighters are an American rock and roll band whose lead singer and guitarist started out as a drummer for a band called Nirvana, which was, of course, was famous for their grunge. And the singer in that band was a man named Kurt Cobain. And so the path of the Foo Fighters is one of overcoming tragedy and then reinventing themselves, and then coming from this similar place to you, Lea, of this really powerful creativity that can't be denied, right? Both artists have that, which is part of why the question we ask is really insane to ask, because it's like asking Picasso or Rembrandt. It's like, it doesn't matter who you pick.
Mm-hmm. Last time I said love. Maybe this time I should say creativity. Dare to create.
It's a lot easier after talking with you.
And like my illustrator says, it's a bumpy road, but we keep going.
And that's a fitting way to end a moped ride with the Moped Outlaws. Thanks again, Lea.
Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.